Hello and welcome to the PST Coach Cast. And today I've got Charles Alexander, the defensive coordinator over at Avila. That's Avila, not Aliva, because I'm a dummy and I like to say the wrong thing sometimes. And we like to expand not only into Texas stuff, but also Casey, Missouri. So we're here in Kansas City right now. And Coach Alexander, thanks for joining me tonight. How you doing?
I appreciate you having me. It's been a long time since we've got a chance to sit down together.
No doubt. I was kind of expecting you to have my chair, my office chair at the house.
If I was in my office, you would see your office chair.
That,
It's the king chair in our office. Everybody else has the old school regular chairs, and I got the Mac Daddy one.
that chair's been through a lot, man. It went from Houston to Huntsville, Texas, up to Iowa Falls, and now it's in Kansas City. So
It
why not?
froze up
It's
in Iowa, so
a little bit of a traveler.
yeah.
But man, you guys had an interesting fall. Played 6 games, 5-1 record.
Mm-hmm.
Number of postpones, kind of due to Corona, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Um, you took that early loss with Bethel, and then it was just like something
Yeah.
clicked, and then the train started rolling. So what was kind of
Well,
going on with you guys?
against Bethel, we actually did not have our starting quarterback, who is probably the best quarterback in the conference.
Okay.
He's a Division I transfer, great athlete, is able to get out of the pocket and scramble and make things happen with his legs. Whereas our backup quarterback, good arm, not much of a mobile guy, and they brought a lot of pressure on him, and he wasn't able to get out of it like our starting quarterback was. They run the triple, which is obviously hard to defend. I started 5 freshmen in that game as a defensive on defense, so it was their first taste, and we actually did better than we did the year before. We gave up 40, I think it was like 49 or maybe in the 50s against them last year. Maybe it was 51 or something like that. They scored 34 on us this year, and one of those was against the offense. Um, so we actually played fairly well, gave up about 120 yards less um,
There you go.
against those guys from the previous year, but we weren't able to come up with a W. But then, jitters got away from those freshmen, and we started getting on a roll.
No doubt. And I mean, the elephant in the room, you guys ended with Tabor and University of St. Mary, a 59-0 and a 51-0 double shutouts for
Yeah,
the Eagles.
our program is about 20 years old, and in the history of the program, they've actually had a traditionally poor defenses, and since being able to take over, we've had a numerous improvements. Actually, they are traditionally about a bottom 15 defense in the country. Right now, we're a top 15 defense,
Mm,
total defense and scoring defense in both categories. So pretty excited, proud of that. Had only one shutout victory in 20 years. We went back to back. They had never had a national player of the week. We've had 2 since taking over down in Kansas City. So really proud of our guys.
no doubt. And those kids obviously play hard for you. That top 15 defensive rating, that's something that I kind of saw when we were together at Ellsworth for that year.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's just kind of an accolade that follows you around.
we up at Ellsworth when we were together, it was one of those things where, you look at the defense, and when we went to All Americans, we had uh, every single starter earn postseason awards, including, I think it was 6 of the starters that first team all conference.
Mm,
Sent on defense, I think we ended up sending about 8 guys to Division I out of the JUCO ranks. So
right.
yeah, they did very well. They did very well.
No doubt. Uh, how was it going week to week with the postponements? Was it something that you kind of knew
Yeah,
ahead of time with some of them, or were they kind of like all of a sudden with some of them?
yeah.
What was that going
The
on?
guys did a very, very good job of adapting and adjusting. First and foremost, I mean, we were sitting there in late July going, they're going to cancel. We actually, as a coaching staff, were putting up dates on the board, and kind of taking makeshift bets of what date they're going to shut us down and everything else. And we actually ended up getting shut down because, ironically enough, I got COVID.
Mhm.
And I was shut down for 10 days, and that's the reason why our last 2 games well, actually, McPherson had to postpone. They had COVID issues, but the last game was because I was in quarantine, as well as the half the defensive staff, since they had come in contact with me. We also had a couple of guys that had contracted it, but our guys were very good about adapting and adjusting. There were times where we were planning on playing a team, and on a Tuesday we were like, okay, we might not be playing that team. Let's get them to get ready for another team because we might
Right.
be finding out if we're playing those guys on Wednesday or Thursday. So especially for how young we were on defensively, but even as a full team, our guys showed a lot of maturity in terms of being able to adapt and adjust with what's going on with COVID. We were scheduled to play actually all 10 games, and we always knew that if a game got pushed around, our games would then get moved to the spring. So went 5-1, and we got 4 more to go in March.
4 more in March.
So we're playing a full season.
Nice.
So the NAIA playoffs are going to be in April and they end in May. So how our conference did it was we had a full schedule, and anytime a team had to postpone, it just got pushed back, and then those games in November got pushed to March. So we got 4 games left to go in March, and we'll hopefully get those in because we have 4 games, but we have 6 weeks to do it. So even if the coronavirus is still going, which hopefully now today the vaccines went out, so hopefully we won't be dealing with it by March.
Right.
But if we still have 6 weeks to get in 4 games, so we should be up there.
Very cool. And so I guess that brings a whole new definition to spring ball for you, right?
Yeah, no doubt. You usually take spring to help develop young guys, which we have. But I guess our development was in game this fall, because if we can figure out a way to win these next 4 games, I think we have a pretty good shot at playing in April and May for a championship.
No doubt. No doubt at all. Especially that kind of play just keeps rolling for you guys. And so
Yeah.
I guess between early November after the St. Mary's game, those 2 postponements. So now from this time until February, it's just a bunch of strength conditioning type stuff, and then
Strength
start
and
back up with like a
conditioning.
fall camp in March.
So we actually, it's funny because we're kind of, like almost everybody else in the country, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here, and just kind of seeing what we can do, what we're allowed to do, what rules get changed, what rules get added.
Yeah.
So basically, right now, from the end of the season, we went into strength and conditioning. A lot of our guys went home because our school went virtual after Thanksgiving because there was
Okay.
a small outbreak at Avila, and not to mention Kansas City was a hot spot. So our school decided to take the precautions and basically send everybody home that could. Now there are some guys that are still on campus and are lifting in our weight room, but we went strength and conditioning, 3-4 days a week. I will be holding after the new year. I'll be holding some Zoom meetings and making sure our guys don't forget about what's going on, and then starting as soon as we get back, as far as we know, we're allowed to start practicing. And we only have the 20-hour rule. So we can potentially have another fall camp, but in February. And I'm not sure how well our Florida boys are going to handle Kansas City, Missouri in February outside in the cold, but we have a very important game versus Southwestern on March 13th. And we got to be obviously prepared for that.
No doubt. And Southwestern
College down in Kansas, outside of Wichita, in Winfield, Kansas.
Gotcha. I'm
So
still
we got
trying to
those
learn that
guys,
area a
and
little bit.
they are actually also only have 1 loss. So that's a very important game for both teams. It's going to be a pretty monstrous game. The winner of that might have an inside track of getting the at-large berth unless Bethel falls a couple of times.
Gotcha. So I got to get tickets to that. That's what you're saying.
It'd be a pretty interesting game. It'd be a pretty interesting game to make. So
All right. Well, shoot, man. Let's switch gears a little bit, talk a little ball. So,
sure.
what was kind of going well for you as from a defensive side? Obviously, those 2 shutouts back to back. Something was going right for you guys, and
Sure. Well, my defensive philosophy is pressure burst pipes. So I'm a big pressure guy. You don't just pressure to get after the quarterback, but you pressure the run. So I do a lot of things when it comes to looking at the run game because I'm a big guy of trying to stop the run first and making a team one-dimensional. So, I'll look at things like backfield sets. I'll look at strengths and weaknesses. I'll try to find the offensive linemen who might be the poorest to try to puncture holes and create negative plays. Stressing, I have what's called the PTT of defense, and that's kind of our pillars of defense on here at Avila, which is pursuit, which is the P. We're going to run into the football as hard as fast as we can, and our guys are really starting to buy into that. So when we went down to Florida and got a lot of speed, and we
No
got a
doubt.
lot faster this year than we were the previous year, and our guys are running to the football better than ever here at Avila. So the next one is tackling. So you got to be able to tackle well, because if you miss tackles, you're going to give up explosive plays. And we've significantly improved our tackling from the previous year. Now, my first year, we actually improved in every single statistical category from the previous years. This year, we have jumped light years, and that's because we're not giving up the explosive plays any longer. And we are down over 100 yards per game
Wow.
because of it. And we're also down about 11 points per game because of it, because of our tackling has gotten so much better. And that's something we practice on a regular basis. And
No
then the
doubt.
last one is technique. And that's kind of the technique aspect of things is kind of the catch-all. When I say something like, hey, you're a 3 technique, you can't get reach. Well, that's the technique part of it. You're a 3 technique and you got to hold down that B gap. Or I might say, hey, you got to pinch and you're playing from the C gap and you're going into the B gap. And if you don't get there, you don't want to have 2 guys in the same gap, because then you're not gap sound. So it's all the little things of each position group specifically. So a defensive lineman has their technique of, pin pull and keeping their gap integrity or slanting or whatever it is, linebacker filling gaps, gap exchange with a defensive end on zone read, transitions and DB play and ball skills. All that stuff is technique of specific positions. And I 100% believe that if you're running the football and you tackle well and you play with great technique, it doesn't matter what call I make, you're going to be successful in defense. It doesn't matter what defense you run, you're going to be just fine if you run the football, tackle it when you get there, and play with great technique.
And you put some
And our
big
guys are
caveman up there, so
say it again.
you find some big cavemen up front that go find the
Yeah,
football, big boy, and
yeah,
sometimes good
exactly
things
right.
happen too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one thing that you don't want to do is coach the playmaker out of the player. And hey, if the guy can just go get it, hey, just tell him to go get it. So so what, like I said, getting back to some of that philosophy stuff is, I pressure a lot, and against St. Mary's against Tabor, I am for that matter St. Mary's. I think I went off at about 95% blitz. And when
Wow.
I talk about blitz out of my 3-4, I'm not talking about sending one linebacker. It's five man or more, and we'll play a lot of fire zones behind it. We'll play 3 under 3 deep. We'll play 4 under 2 deep. We will do all kinds of stuff. Drop defensive ends. We will drop defensive tackles. We will be as elaborate as we can. Now this year I'm a little bit more simple because I have 5 freshmen starting and another 2 freshmen rotate in. So there's a lot of youth there. So I've kind of tamed it back a little bit. But we've gotten really good at blitzing, and our speed is something that's really nice because it creates havoc in the backfield. You are susceptible to big plays, but they've got to find the gaps. And if they're running around with their head cut off, I mean, there's one play in particular that stands out to me is we were playing Kansas Wesleyan, and I had this blitz, and one of my safeties was blitzing the A gap, and my other safety was covering the tight end. And out of nowhere, and we had practiced and repped, and the kid that was a junior blitzed his A gap, ended up getting a sack. But my freshman, for whatever reason, decided to also blitz, and the tight end I'm talking about nobody around.
Oh no.
But we got a sack. It was a
Got
sack of
sacked.
15 yards, and the kid just couldn't find him. So we get that thing corrected in the film room, but again, pressure burst pipes. So
Double safety, double A gap. You're gonna put that in, right?
I already have it in. That's actually what the call was, but they had put a tight end in, so he had to check out of it. So
Oh,
he ended
gotcha.
up checking out of it and sending my Mike linebacker through the A gap, and we both know what that call is, and it's fit, and the two of us know what fit stands for. I won't let the audience know what FIT stands for, but
That's fair. That's very fair. And
yeah.
so 95% on that, huh?
On the against St. Mary's, I think against St. Mary's I was actually almost 100. I think I was almost 100%. I just was like, you know what, these guys, they struggle up front, and I know that, and I guess somehow I found out they were like they only brought 5 offensive linemen, and so I knew that they were having a little bit of COVID issues, so there was a little bit of sportsmanship there, but I said, you know, these guys aren't going to be able to block us,
Right.
and so their backfield told me a lot, and their strength told me a lot, and they don't, teams that run power a lot, if they don't run counter, I know where you're going. I know where the run is going. So I'm going to blitz where I know the run's going. I'm going to, if they run zone read and only zone read and don't run power read or don't run, some sort of counter off of their action, I know where you're going to run. So
Right.
I just constantly blitzed. I mean, for me, it was just this check, blitz check, blitz check, blitz check. And more times than not, we knew where they were going. And if you look at the yardage, those two teams, I think combined, did not have 300 yards combined in 2 games. They didn't give up. We didn't give up 300 yards combined in 2 games. I think Tabor only had 110 yards, and I don't know if the two teams had 250 yards because I think we held both teams to about 120 yards total each game. Created some turnovers. Turnovers are huge, especially on early downs, early in the series. You get off the field, and once we have a special offense, as you can tell, 59-0, 51-0.
No doubt.
Our offense is pretty special as well. And when they start getting up into the 30s, I know passes coming, and now I draw up all my pass blitzes. And when I know offensive lines are struggling, I can get a little bit elaborate, and here we go.
No doubt.
So,
You like
and I
dropping
got
out of
corners that can cover.
helicopters, so
Yeah. So, but it's just one of those things where I worked for a guy who once said, "Run over cover 4." That's what he was. It just, get really good at that. Well, if you have defensive linemen, great, you can do that. If you had, like, for example, his deal was Brent Venables runs over cover 4 90% of the time. Well, that's great. He also has 4 first-round draft picks playing defensive line.
right.
You can do that. Me, I don't have that. So I need to be able to get one-on-one matchups. I don't need any double teams anywhere. So I send a lot of pressure. And for linebackers that may not be overly aggressive or fill very well, well, if I blitz them, I'm going to make it. So, like I said, my philosophy of where I've been has been just, hey, let's go after people. Let's not let the offense dictate to us. We're going to dictate to them.
And with you being kind of obviously you've coached everything on the defense, but being a DB guy, as you do the defense backs at Avila, correct?
I do. Yep.
Okay. And so I'm assuming as long as you feel like you can get your job done with, man tag versus your fire zones, 4 deep, 2 deep, 3 deep, whatever it may be for that blitz call, as long as you feel good enough with your guys on the back end, you can get as creative as you want up front, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just, the DBs, because I'm going to blitz those DBs. There was one game where I blitzed my corner 10 times. I ran my corner blitz 10 times in one game. And I'm going to send the safeties. I'm sending a combination of safeties and linebackers. I'm going to get as creative as we can, as long as our guys don't, have mental busts. As long as they can handle it, I'm going to keep going, and we're going to keep installing, and we're going to keep getting creative and dropping guys. As soon as I start seeing our guys play slow, because I talk about paralysis by analysis. Well, if they can't move because they're thinking too much, it's time to back off, and we just get good at what we already have in. And once they got that, then we can move on.
Right.
So, but yeah, I not only do I have to feel comfortable with my secondary, I got to feel good about my linebackers, because I could be blitzing my secondary as well.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, let's you sent over kind of a DB drill sheet.
Sure.
And so let's shift gears a little bit real quick. And so
Okay.
I'm gonna give you screen share and let you do what you want to do.
All right. Maybe. You know me and technology. Not the all right. Let's first pull up. Where'd it go? Where are you, BBs? I need to go in the- There you are. See that?
Fun times.
All right. So, when it comes to DB play, I talk about, I talk to my DBs all the time about find your 6 inches. We got to find our 6 inches because every DB has missed a play by this much, by
Okay.
6 inches. So everything we do is talking about how do we get those 6 inches back, and the first thing we talk about is footwork. So, I mean, you can see there, it's the essence of DB play. We're going to have the corners and safeties do the same footwork, even though sometimes those safeties and corners may be a little different. And if I have an assistant with me, we'll separate a little bit more where we can concentrate on those guys a little bit more specific. But I do want corners and safeties doing the same footwork because they are going to transition out of things. It's just their stance might be a little bit different. Their angles might be a little bit more different from slot receivers to outside receivers. And you can see that we're going to do it pretty much every day.
Right.
And I've been at a handful of places where you have a half hour of individual. Right now, I'm at a place where you get about 10 minutes. So we might have to do it pre-practice instead of during practice. It might be part of our warm up. It might be, hey, we're going to really focus in. We're going to use all of our Indy, and we're just going to worry about footwork. We're not going to do any of route recon or any of those sorts of things. We're just going to work on our footwork and get all that stuff cleaned up. We talk about making sure we don't have any false steps. I tell DBs all the time, and it goes for any position. But if you have to move, you haven't gone anywhere. So you have to have good body posture. You have to have bend in your power angles, your hips, knees, and ankles. You have to be able to break out quickly as fast as possible. I'm not a big. He's got to have a T-step, or he's got to do the people call it the bicycle, where they kind of patter their feet. I don't really care at this point. It's whatever they are fastest at, because again, you've got to be able to these wide receivers are very athletic, and you're reacting to what they're doing. So to try to change somebody to fit specifically what I truly believe in, which I truly believe in the T step. Um, I'm not going to worry about that too much at this point because they've kind of had muscle memory. And if they are slower with the T-step than they are with the bicycle, why teach the T-step at this point? So, we want to make sure that we don't have false steps. We don't have to drop our hips to get moving. We want to clean up any and all footwork, and we go in all angles. So we will come back at 45. We'll come right back down the stem. We'll flip our hips. We'll work the post. We'll work post corners. We do bicycle turns. Excuse me, not bicycle turns. We'll do speed turns, baseball turns. Some people call them baseball turns. We'll do pivot turns. We do all kinds of different angles because as a DB, you have no idea when you're going to have to change directions based on a wide receiver's route. So we're going to work our footwork extensively. It is all about footwork when it comes to DB play. And then what we're going to do is we're also going to work hips. This is going to be your change of direction stuff. So we're going to overcoach this. So we're going to do some drills that aren't really football specific, but I'm trying to get to loosen up their hips, be able to change directions. So we'll have a true 180 degrees. So I'm going to backpedal them straight down the line. I'm going to show you some film here in a little bit. But we're going to backpedal them straight down the line. We're going to make them overturn their hips and make sure that they understand that you can't have locked hips. You've got to be able to do things like punch arm opposite. You got to be able to turn 180 degrees, but without raising your raising your pad level. And it'll end up helping their transition because they're not in their transition. They're not really turning 180 degrees. By the time, that you're truly transitioning, it might be only 145 degrees. It might only be 90 degrees. So we're going to overcoach that. We're going to work on what I call cob drill, crossover break. Okay, so we're going to be working the top of routes. We're going to, coming back down the line, coming back, running If your wide receiver runs a curl, if they run a comeback, well, that's two different directions. So we'll do those again 2 to 3 times a week, depending on how much time we have. But we want to get footwork and hip progression in as much and as early as possible, because as the season goes, your Indy starts getting smaller, and how much of practicing in week 8 you really need to dedicate to these things. You only have 9 practices left. Well, they're not going to get a ton better in those nine practices. So you then just go on to route recon and move on, because you're starting to run out of daylight. Tackling, and we talked about tackling a little earlier. Tackling is huge for DBs, and the reason why I say that is, and you can see there, number one, it's as DBs, you're the last line of defense. If a defensive lineman misses a tackle, he's got help behind him. If a linebacker misses a tackle, got a little help behind him. But if a DB misses a tackle, it's strike up the band for the offense. And we've gotten significantly better with our tackling. We've emphasized it in the off season. We have gone out and got a tackling sled. We've got those new donuts that we can roll. We do open field tackling, angle tackling, sideline tackling. We do gator tackling. We tackle all the time in our practices. And a lot of times my drills, we either end with a football or end with a tackle. And that's finishing a play. That's what we're trying to accomplish. But we will do all kinds of different tackling from different angles, even goal line tackling where they can't go low. I mean, some of our DBs are pretty small, but if you go low in the goal line, they're just going to fall into the end zone. So you've got to tackle high. And we're going to talk to these guys about the 5 ups of tackle. And that's keeping your eyes up, your head up, chest up. We're going to wrap up, and we're going to explode up. And by doing that, you should have good tackling posture, and you should also be doing it safely. That's obviously a big thing on defense these days, is tackling safety and keeping your head out of things. So, and then ball in the air, and we want to attack the ball while it's in the air. I am not a coach who subscribes to the theory that DBs are wide receivers and running backs that can't catch. I don't want to hear that. We are going to be able to catch the football, and I will put the ball in our DB's hands in every practice in some way, whether that's a turnover drill and they've got to scoop and score, or whether they're attacking the football, or whether we're doing an interception drill, or they're just simply catching the football. That's one of those things where I'm going to make them high point it. I'm going to make them find it. I'm going to make them do all kinds of different things. Catching the football is very important. We're doing a really nice job of creating those turnovers. But we've got to be able to, not only when we get the football, we've also got to be able to then become a ball carrier. We had a kid who was able to take one back for 66 yards, which was nice. And then we've actually, in the first 2 games, the defense scored the first touchdown in each game, which was pretty nice. And we have 2 defensive touchdowns right now on the season, and we also have another one returned for 66 yards that set up a score, which was really nice.
How far did Lawson take that one late in the year?
95 yards.
Yeah.
It was a 95-yard touchdown that he had. And the nice thing about that one, I wish we had it on tape, is you saw that that kid was timed at a 4.49, and I was keeping up with him on the sideline. I want to make sure I get that, because I was running down right with him, and I was keeping up with him, and then he pulled away at about the 50.
Well, that happens. The good news is that your ankle and your foot was fully healed.
I had a head start. I had a head start, and I was keeping up with him, but then he pulled away about the 50-yard line. So,
well, you can just say Coach Ramey broke my ankle playing basketball.
Yeah, Coach Ramey broke my ankle playing basketball, and I couldn't keep up. Oh, that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story.
Maybe at the end we can tell stories. But.
Absolutely. So,
and then when we're talking about the progression of a DB, okay, so progression of a DB is I have stance and start, and I'm not a big stance guy. I understand why stances are important, but if you are in stances, you're not going to be able to disguise very well. So, for me, stance, I do it at the beginning because I feel that it is somewhat important. But to me, it's going to be, are you faster from 0 to 60, or are you faster from about 15 to 20 to 60? Well, to me, as I'm moving around and disguising, and then the ball snapped and then I can get going. Now, the issue with that is you can't be moving around. You've still got to be in a good athletic position, because then if you're moving around and have to drop to get going, you haven't gone anywhere again, like I mentioned before. So, there is a catch-22 but sometimes disguising is better than anything else you got for a quarterback. If you make a quarterback think, it's pretty good. But start again. We want to talk about not having a false step. Don't go forward to have to go backwards, and that's really more for the press man, press technique when it comes to corner play, and it could be some safety play there as well. Alignment assignment. When it comes to defense, missed tackles. We talked about missed tackles at creating explosive plays, but missed assignments will also kill you.
No doubt.
That's where your blown coverages come into play. So not only knowing where to line up and when it comes to alignment, I talk about ability alignment. What is your ability? For me, at 6'3", 250 pounds, and I'm playing, a slot receiver, well, I probably want to get in that kid's face and be in a phone booth. I don't want to give him space. But if I'm a DB at 5'8", 175, I'm just as athletic as that kid, so I can play up in his face. I can play off. I have the ability. Well, if I'm playing safety and I can play the run at 12 yards, great. If I need to be up at 8 and be up at 8. I give the exaggerated, example. If you're Superman, can you guard a guy on the left side of the field by being on the right? Well, the answer is yes. I have that ability because I'm Superman. I ain't got no Superman. I don't have any Deion Sanders. So you got to make sure that you know what your ability is and you can align accordingly. So, I kind of give some parameters. A lot of people say, well, when you're playing quarters, you got to be at 12 yards inside leverage. I'm not going to put the hamstring on those guys. I'm going to tell them in practice, figure out where your ability is and then go from there. Take chances in practice. Practice, you're okay. Hey, you tried to play quarters at 8. Well, you can't play it at 8. You're not fast enough. You don't have the best of eyes. Where were your eyes? All those different things. You need to be at 12. Well, I have some guys that can play at 8. I have some guys that need to play at 12. And so I have some guys that need to play at 18 too. So, it's just one of those deals where, get to where you're comfortable and then know what you're doing when you get there. That's the assignment part of it. So, I say, all right, well, we're blitzing off the edge here. We're going to 3 under 3 deep. Do I need to roll to the left? Do I need to roll to the right? How are we replacing the blitz? Are we replacing the blitz? It's all those different things that come into my assignment, when it comes to the DB play. Because again, if we miss tackles at DB and if we mess up our assignment at DB, strike up the band. So the next thing is where are my eyes when I get there? What am I looking at? If I'm a corner and I'm playing man, my eyes need to be on my man. If I'm playing corner and I'm playing cover 2, well, I'm going to read from 2 to 1, or I might look at the quarterback. I might, everybody has their different philosophies. For me, looking at the end man line scrimmage, get your run pass read. And that's kind of how I was for a long time. I'm starting to migrate to just look in the backfield, because with all these RPO, all you offensive guys, I swear you guys all cheat.
Well, you guys are getting better on the defensive side, so we've got to find ways to cheat better.
You guys, I tell you what, hey, we're going to have an offensive lineman 5 yards downfield and throw the football.
Man, I got called for a lineman downfield for the first time in 6 years. But when we go back and
probably
look
lost
at it,
your mind.
But I did, because when you go back and look at it, they were behind the line because he was getting beat. He was getting beat. He just threw a block down the field later, and they flagged him for it. Like, what the heck?
It's one of those things now where it's like, all right, just look in the backfield, because or maybe it's read 2 to 1, and because for every offense, you face those 21 personnel teams, you can look at the linemen because they're not really running RPO. But when you face a 10 personnel team, those guys are blocking downfield because they don't know if it's a run or a pass, so they're just doing what they do, getting their zone lanes, and you be getting sucked up, but all of a sudden they throw the slant behind you. Well, let's just look at the backfield, and the quarterback. So where are their eyes? Are they a read a 2-to-1 guy? One of the things I tell my guys, especially in man, is hips don't lie. That's where you need to have your eyes. So, I'll be yelling on the field, Shakira, because hips don't lie.
No
And
doubt.
so when they hear me yelling Shakira, they know I'm talking about their eyes, and where are their eyes? They should be on the hips. And we do drills for that. We talk about pedal. We've already talked about the footwork. Footwork and hip progression is your pedal and your transition. The better your pedal, the better your transition. Goes into the next one. The faster you're going to be able to get into phase. We talk about when I talk to the DBs about phase, I talk about having 4 eyes. They got 2 in their head, and they have 1 in each hand. As long as 1 in the hand is on a hip, then you can take the 2 in your eyes and look back for the ball. But if you can't feel the guy with your eyes in your hands, then your 2 eyes in your head need to stay on your man. And by doing that, then we start talking about playing the wide receivers' hands and all those other different things that go into DB play. But we talk about in phase, out of phase, and eyes in your hands and your head. And then finally, it's time to make a play. Okay, so with 1 through 6, I'm going to coach all that. Okay, but at some point, you got to let a player be a player, and they've got to make a play. Now, I've thrown balls to them; they've caught balls, so they should know how to high point things and undercut and all those different things that come with making interceptions. But you're going to have 12 to 15 interceptions in a season. Well, at some point, they also have to have PBUs, and PBU is pretty nice play too. So they got to make a play.
Shout out to Naeem Smith right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Make a play.
Make play.
Make a play. So again, some of these other things you talk about: play hard, play smart, play fast, and scoring, passion, finish. Again, all those things are talking about running to the football, tackling it well, and playing with great technique. I mean, that's what it comes down.
Sweet.
So let's go to some of these drills that we do. And so, as we look at these things, and I'm going to kind of fly through this a little bit, but you can see all I'm doing here is I'm putting the ball in their hands. I'm making them flip their hips, and I'm making them find the football. And so, they're going to be blind at first, and they have to track that football. And I'll just have them run at me. They flip their shoulder over the right, flip their shoulder over the left. Then I'll have them run straight at me. And I'll high point it. I'll low point it. It's, again, just getting the ball in these guys' hands. So they're used to catching the football. So again, I'm throwing it down low now. Making them, you don't know where this quarterback's going to throw it. It could be a high ball, it could be a low ball, and now I'm throwing it real weird. So now I'm taking it to where it's been deflected at the line of scrimmage. So they still have to track it. But it's not a perfect spiral anymore, and they've got to track that football. Okay, and then, come on. So now I'm doing angles. So now they're coming out, breaking out at 45. When I get worked up, I really throw this one hard at them. I really, because hey, college quarterback is going to be able to really get after the. They're going to throw hard. They're not going to be throwing cupcakes.
Right.
And again, all the different angles. Okay, and I want to have soft hands. So now what I'm doing is I'm throwing over their shoulder, and I'm making them catch it with one hand because I want them to have soft hands. Again, I don't subscribe to the theory of these guys can't catch. They're athletes that just can't catch, and that's why they're playing defensive back. So, so I'll do it over the one shoulder, I'll do it over the other shoulder. And they've got to catch it with one hand. Now, here's what I'll tell you is if these guys drop a pass, I make them do 10 fingertip push-ups. So they've got to work their strength in their fingers. Anytime they drop a pass, unless I throw a bad ball, So now I'm working high point. So I'm working basically cover 3 for the corners, and I'm working cover 2 for the safeties. So I'm telling them, get off the hash, Get on out there. And so you'll see that the corner will be basically press bail, and they'll get out playing cover 3. All right, so now some of this footwork drill. So now I'm based right now. I'm backpedaling. So you'll see that at the top of I always work a transition. So if I backpedal my guys, as soon as they get to the top, they have to give me a little something to come back forward. So right now I'm just backpedaling. It's almost like a warm up. I'm working pad level. I'm working footwork. Cut the grass, but they got to work a transition coming back down the step. And we do all kinds of different backpedal drills. So as you can see here. So now you'll see I'm actually changing their tempo. So I have them walking out. So now it's like simulating playing off at 7. It could be cover 3. It could be man playing at 7 yards. And that one there. So you can see how I'm clapping. Well, what I'm simulating is, all right, we're playing at 7 yards, and we are now going to be walking out. I want them to walk through the 3-step. So they're slowly walking out, and then, all right, it's not 3-step. I got to get out of here. So I start clapping my hands, and then they pick up the pace. And so what I'm looking for now is, are they changing their pad level as I'm doing it?
Hmm.
So now I'm working a weave drill. So working a weave drill, okay, consists of trying to make sure that our guys keep their hips and their shoulders to the line of scrimmage. Or wide receivers trying to get leverage on them, and we're just working with that leverage, trying to keep our leverage.
Right.
And so, right here, like for example, this young man here in the middle, you can see his hips started turning. And if you start turning your hips, your hip gets locked. And now if I had to flip all the way around, well, if I'm even, I just turn and go. Well, if I'm turned, my hips are turned, I now have locked my hip, and now I got to open it up to get it back to turned. So that's what we're working on, trying to keep our hips to the line of scrimmage and work a weave with the wide receiver. And again, since we're going straight back, they've got to give me something, what I call give me something at the top, which means that, hey, you got to work a transition. You got to come back down. So I'm weaving them to the right, balancing them up, go again, balance them up, and then give me something at the top. So again, some of these pad levels are starting to get high as they backpedal. You see the kid in the middle here is struggling a little bit. He wants to almost basketball shuffle. I don't want basketball shuffle.
Right.
So again, now we talked about those 180s, okay, and I'm flipping their hips. Okay, so right here, we're flipping, opening up. That's your transition. Well, very rarely are you going to flip again all the way around. And then I speed turn them again. So I flip them 180 degrees a couple of different times. And so what I'm trying to do is put a lot of pressure on their hips and making them do a speed turn with it. And you see some of these guys really struggle with this, and they've got it, and you can see, I'm telling them, hey, keep your pad level down right there. Keep your pad level down. Okay, again, that's your 6 inches. As you start creeping up, well, to turn, you got to come back down. Well, there's your 6 inches. So now I'm working a post corner drill. So now I'm working, I'm making them pivot. So I'm breaking them to the post. Okay, the wide receiver cuts back underneath. All right, and they should get back to balance. And then they give me something at the top. Break, get balanced. And again, just trying to work their hips, trying to get them to change directions, trying to get them to understand that, hey, you don't know where in this route, you're going to have to put your foot in the ground and go. And now I'm doing the same drill, but I'm doing a speed turn again. If you have gone out and you're put that foot in the ground and you're braking and you come back, well, if you have the outside foot, you can pivot quicker than you would speed turn. Well, here, I've already put my foot in the ground, and now I see these cut. Well, now I got to take that extra step and now speed turn around.
Hmm.
So that's what and now you can see here, I don't have them balanced, so they don't have to give me something at the top. So
Right.
anytime I have them back balanced, I want something. I just want them working, working that transition, working a transition all the time. All right, so now we're working quick footwork. This is a box drill. And again, they're reacting to the football. I'm saying other things, but they're reacting to what they see with the football. Okay, so working a back pedal, 45, break it open, zone turn, come back down the stem. Okay, so we're working, I'm trying to get their feet going faster. I'm trying to accelerate them, make them work their feet, and then also put a ball in their hand. And by the way, I don't have a mustache. I have a beard, and it's just gray. You can't see that. I'm not a mustache guy.
Good little side note.
Yeah, side note, I'm not a mustache guy. But again, quick feet, box drill, in and out, quick. Make them put a ball in their hand, quick feet, accelerate. You never know when I'm going to turn them, burn them, whole deal. So here I'm doing something very similar. Well, we'll have that clip. So I have right there, I had a zone turn, okay, and I was coming back down on the zone turn. I have what's called the O snap drill. Well, it's called the O snap drill. It's not really snap, but it's the double move. And where we're doing that same box drill, but now I got the double move. So I bang the double move and I man turn and I get it, and then I high point the ball.
Mm.
I'm not sure what happened to that clip there. So this is my NBA drill. Okay, this is what I call NBA. If anybody's played basketball, they have done this drill. And so this is the beginning part of press man. And so what I'm doing is making them use their feet instead of trying to grab with their hands and press. So I'm making them shuffle. So I've been a inch back guy, and I've also been a shuffle guy, step and slide guy. And so right now I'm working the step and slide with the NBA drill. And so what I'm doing is I say, all right, get your eyes down on the hip. I'm taking their hands away from them, and I'm making them work their feet. And so I have, again, corners and safeties doing this. And the reason why the safeties have to know how to press, a lot of people go, why would you have a safety press? Well, a safety could be guarding the slot, and that slot might be on the line of scrimmage, and the other guy, the number one receiver might be off. Well, I don't really care about that. But I also don't think that you can press a guy who's off the line of scrimmage. To me, that just doesn't make sense. So whoever's on the line of scrimmage is the one that's going to press. So safety's got to work press technique as well. Also, safeties might have the point in a bunch set. So again, they've got to work that. So now we're doing what's called punch arm opposite. And so now I'm giving them their hands back, and these guys are looking to what I call is punch arm opposite. So I have a receiver going for example, here they're going to the defender's left. Well, if he's going left, I got to open up my left hip, and I'm going to punch with my opposite hand. And so now my aiming point should be the chest plate. And if I miss, then it will go to the shoulder. So I don't when I press, I don't go to the shoulder, because if I go to the shoulder and I miss, I've whiffed. So I'm looking to get to the chest plate right here, number 7, not bad. And then once I get to that chest plate, I slide down to the hip, because again, hips don't lie. And this is safety, boom, right there. Okay. And right there, what I would be correcting is when I punch, look, if you look at his thumb, it's down. I don't want that. I want that thumb up. You're stronger that way. That's what we're talking about right there. Okay. So we'll do this at least once a week. Here is a retarget drill. So again, he's not moving his feet. If you look at this safety, he's not moving his feet right here.
Right.
He's just trying to reach with his hand. Okay. And you see my head go down. Okay. So what I corrected here was, all right, you got to, first of all, move your feet. Okay. And as he's coming back, I got to retarget with my left hand. So it should be, all right, he's stuttering out to my left, punch right now. I got to punch. It'll be physical. But once he comes back underneath, I got to retarget and re-punch arm opposite. And so that's what we're working right now. Boom, boom. Should be quick, almost like a boxer. Boxing would be huge for DBs. If you have the speed bag or the heavy bag, it's great for DB and press man.
I think my favorite aspect of watching like DB tape or hearing DB coaches talk is how similar offensive line and DB techs marry so
Yeah.
well. And when I was first kind of getting started with the offensive line world, I spent a lot of time working with our corners coach because of how similar pass pro techniques and then arm opposite, reach around palm, all that good stuff, like
Yeah,
translates into that world.
absolutely. Again, this 16 right here, his feet are all over the place. Okay, number 7 down here. Open up the gate. He's reaching. He's not. These guys aren't moving their feet. And luckily for us, this is spring, so you have a little bit of time to get this thing cleaned up. All right, so now we've worked the start of the route. Right, we've worked press. Well, now we're going to go to the intermediate part of a route. Well, this is chase the hip. We talk about hips don't lie. So I'm telling these guys, get your eyes down on the hip, and if I can feel that hip go down, I'm bringing my hips down. And we work both sides. Again, I got one eye on that hip. I can feel that hip. And if I don't have my hand on the hip, my eyes are on that hip. We go back and forth all the way to the hash. And I tell them they gotta get three down. So now I'm playing off. So again, you can see they're walking out. Their eyes are down on the hip. And when they drop their hips, we're dropping our hips because we don't know if it's if it's an in breaking route, out breaking route, is it a double move? This, I think, is a little bit more for safeties, in my personal opinion. Yeah, because I like getting my corners up in guys' face and telling them to challenge their manhood. So again, now this tape here is from 2 years ago, and I haven't made a new drill tape yet. I am starting to migrate to catch man.
Okay.
The reason behind that is because, with how much I'm blitzing, if you catch them, you've already negated 3 steps. So if it's 5 step, all right, I catch him, I bang him, what I call bang and ride. I'm going to bang and ride him, let his momentum carry me into phase. Well, 3 step, you're good. And if it's 5 step, hopefully the blitz is getting home. And they also have to, and the windows are now shorter. So I'm not giving any ground. By walking out, you might, depending on what team you're playing, you might end up giving up a little bit of 3 steps. So I'm starting to migrate and really like that catch man.
Is that something you kind of do game plan wise, you think, right now, or is it something you kind of going like full
It's
sail?
really something I'm just going on now at this point.
I like it.
It's just it's just one of those things where I've gone. When I first became a defense coordinator, I was probably in the 50%, 60%, blitz versus base, and now, I've really, you thought I blitzed a lot when we were together. I've upped the game a little bit here. So,
Love it.
Again, right here, I'm working a little bit of that catch. The other thing about catch is when we play what it's called skiff technique, which is seam curl flat, which is your 3 under 3 deep stuff. Those outside guys, they're basically doing the same thing as catch man, except for they're not, when they're not banging and riding with them, they're just banging them and then delivering them to the, to the next, to the guys behind them, and then doing their seam curl flat technique. So you're almost already teaching catch man by doing skip technique, or vice versa, depending on your install. So this is that Cobb drill I was talking about. This is crossover break. Okay, I'm going to work these guys. I've done the top of the route. Okay, we've done the intermediate part of the route. This is working the back end of the route. So any curls, digs, comebacks, anything that might be breaking either laterally or back toward the football is this crossover break. So you can see, we've worked the press. We've now into chase mode. We're working the hip. I've opened up, and now I'm working the top of the route. So they have to react to what I do. So you see, I'm bringing them out. And now, right here, I'm telling them good job because, you know, I'm sending them back. But if I don't give them a direction, well, that means that receiver's running a go route. So they can't guess. They've got to be able to react to what they see. We're reaction players. So I'm bringing them out and I'm sending them back. So let me rewind this here a little bit more. And so right now here, I'm bringing them back to me. So I'm running what I would consider a curl route. I'm simulating a curl route. So right here, I don't want to see anybody spinning like a top, or planting and driving 45 degrees. Okay, coming out. Now I'm going to send them back to more of a comeback route. Okay? And this right now, I'm doing a pivot. So again, they don't know where, again, you don't know where your feet are going to be. So right now we're working a pivot, and now we're going to work a speed turn. They're coming out, speed turn. Snap the eyes back to me. Yeah, I want to, like, hey, show me what your mom gave you. Let me see your eyes. Okay, so they're coming out, and you see it. They all didn't. Nobody guessed it came back down the stem without me telling them to come back down. That's why I was pretty happy about that. And I tell them to come on back and get your rep in.
On a side note, rewind it back just a little bit. My favorite is number 55 over here. Is that Julian by chance? That's like was mimicking the drill. I guess trying to like show that, hey, I got hips too. I can do this.
Julian
Baldy.
Where? I doubt it. Well, maybe it might have been.
So maybe I don't know. It was just cracking me up. He was like talking.
He just got himself an offer to Incarnate Word.
There you go, San Antonio. All right.
So that's, in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do. There are obviously some other drills. I didn't show the tackling stuff, and so I didn't show the tackling stuff, and I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share here. But at Avila here, we have, and all that stuff is about 2 years old now. At Avila, we have sleds, we've got the donuts. We're going to tackle every day. We're going to tackle every day. We're going to do some sort of ball drill every day. We're going to do a turnover drill every day. Those are the things that we're going to emphasize. So,
no doubt. Pressure breaks pipes, right?
Pressure breaks pipes, baby.
I like that. That's a new one for you, right?
New one. I stole
it.
Don't get me wrong. It's not mine. I stole it.
Well, it's football. We're coaches. Yeah. That's what we do.
I stole it. There's no doubt about that. It's not original.
I like that a lot. Well, shoot, man. We made a joke about the broken ankle, and so I feel bad about that, but it's still one of my favorites because that picture of you on the gym floor is still your contact picture on my phone. And so every time I get a message or a phone call from you,
why would it not be?
That's what shows up. I'm like, oh, Charles is giving me a shout. I got to take this. So,
we were playing basketball in the gym, and all you young guys, I had to show that I had at least a semblance of an athlete. But I had to take Usselton to the hole. I got him in the air, and I'm coming up on you, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm not going up with you," and you just stay put. I was expecting you at least to like jump out of the way or just do anything. You just stood there. And so I went up for the
charge.
Usually went up for the layup, and I came down. My foot hit your foot. My foot lost and rolled my ankle and broke my foot.
From my perspective, because I used to be a lot larger person, right? And so I could used to throw my weight around a little bit down there, and even if guys were taller than me, I still had enough girth to kind of hold my own. And then I got on the court, and I've got Division I linebacker, Division I offensive lineman, tight end, and I'm sitting there going like, man, I've lost 120 pounds, and these dudes are throwing me around like a rag doll. And so my only shot of if I try to go up with Charles here, I'm gonna get put on my rear. And so I was like, I'm gonna be put on my rear muzzle, go down, see if I can get the charge, get him to miss the basket, and a little unfortunate on the landing pad there, but
yeah, it's called getting old. That's what it is. But was in a scooter for about 8 weeks and had surgery and the whole deal. So
That was like what? That was late spring.
It was May. I think I broke it May 2nd. It was May 2nd when I broke it. I had surgery on like the 11th.
And then you spent the summer rehabbing it and came back in
Yeah,
fall camp
and
ready to
so
rock.
that season, before games, I would have our trainer tape my ankle because I knew it still was sore because I probably was on it too. Like that summer was really humid and the surgery spot, the opening wouldn't close. And so my foot kept swelling because there was still, I mean, it was a mess. And so I knew that just because my foot was not completely 100%, that during a game, I mean, I get pretty active, let's just say, on game day.
You
And yeah, I mean, defensive guy,
crazy,
why would I not be? Right.
crazy.
So, I mean, I would be up and down the field, and I knew that after a game, it would be throbbing. It was the first game I did not uh, tape my ankle, and I was like, never, not the rest of this season. It's getting taped every single time. And sure enough, I'd be in there with our guys. Coach, you getting your ankle taped? Yeah, I'm getting my
Oh
ankle
yeah,
taped. Yeah, I gotta be able to do chest bumps and everything else.
good times. And then I'll never forget driving in that Malibu from wherever creation that we were playing that week, and we'd have the iPad with college games that we were streaming from your
Oh,
DVR at
oh, that was
3
great.
a.m. and
That was fantastic. Just being able to, first of all, not being on a bus for hours. That was clutch,
that was good.
and
That was
that
good.
was clutch. And I would drive as far as I could, let you get some rest, put on your iPad. We'd have a game going, and at some point I'd fall out, and you'd take over at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was. I'd try to get a little bit of sleep before I had to drive another half hour after we got back to home,
Right.
and
And then I'd go in and upload our game video. Good
yeah, I
times.
mean it was fun. I mean, we got to know each other real well on all those trips, and it was a good time. It was definitely worth it. Instead of one being on the bus and two getting to know you guys. I should say you guys, you, because there was a couple of times we had Clayton a couple of times, and
Yeah. Or like
it was,
he'd come down with us, but then he'd like ride the bus back, or
yeah, some I don't
it was every time it was a little bit different
right.
situation we had going on. But
We were always able to leave 20 minutes before everybody, and didn't have to deal with that fight that broke out.
true that.
Us. And we were able to get to the hotel first and have meals first and get home first, which was even better because
That was a
as
big
soon as
one.
that game was over, in the car and roll, baby.
Yeah,
Garden
usually you'd
City
have it
or
ready and like
Dodge.
the engine
Oh,
was on and the temperature was
let's
you'd have it ready.
go. Let's go. Get out of here. Just run power, baby. Just run
Just run
power.
power. Hey, and you
Just
know what?
run
That's
power.
a great thing. So we run power. We throw stick a few times. We'll eat a lot of tacos over at my house. But as you so eloquently put earlier, if you're gonna run power, do something off of it, right? So don't be afraid to run counter too.
Same play.
Same play, just go the opposite
Same
way
play.
sometimes.
Yeah. Play.
Don't
Otherwise, I'm just gonna blitz power.
you're just gonna blitz power all night.
Yep. No doubt. We got a kid at you guys had a guy at Arkansas State doing real well.
No
He's
doubt.
doing really well. He's doing really well, actually.
No doubt. I actually was trying to get a ticket to go up to see him a couple weeks back, and then I had a little medical run in to myself, and
Yeah.
I was in the hospital for a couple days. But uh, I need to go try to make that trip because I'm still pretty close to him. Jonesboro, I think, from Texarkana is
Ain't that
3
far.
hours,
Yeah,
maybe.
I'll say it
So
ain't that
I
far.
need to make that trip one of these days.
Good man.
Well, shoot, dude, it's good seeing you. Good talking to you a little
Yeah,
bit, and thanks for
absolutely.
doing this with me. And hopefully
Absolutely. I
this
appreciate you having me.
hopefully this takes off a little bit. Have a little fun with it. I'm enjoying it, and
Yeah.
one of these days when Corona is no longer such a big deal, I can make a trip up to Casey Mo and
Hey,
come hang out.
welcome anytime. You're welcome anytime at the house. I had it, so you can get it from me. I don't even have to wear a mask around you anymore.
I'm pretty sure that
Yeah.
I'm immune, honestly, because I've been tested 3 times and I've been in some weird situations that I should have probably picked it up. And teaching in a public school.
Yeah.
And just like, how have I not picked it up yet?
I think
And
that something to do with blood. My wife, there's no way my wife couldn't have got it, but she fine. I don't know what it means. Should be coming to an end either way though.
facts. Well, go have fun playing with your Transformers. And
Yeah, exactly. The Transformers coming out my, you know what? Oh my God. The life of a dad of a 5-year-old
in December.
in December. Exactly right.
All right, man.
Took him bowling today, and he wanted to go home and play Transformers. All right, so I was trying to get you away from Transformers. Is what it is.
One track minds.
Yeah, he's old man.
All right,
All right,
dude.
brother.
Well, I'm gonna
Appreciate
get
it
out of
having
here
me.
and go take care of this. If you will, send me that email when you get a chance. All right.
Perfect.
All right. Well,
Will do, brother.
I'm signing off.
All right, man. We'll see you.